All right, so we're in ninth grade lit, and we're answering the second question, what happened at the Ebro River, and Hayden is telling me somebody drowned. Yeah, what's going on? That why would all these people drown?
I say fighting Charlotte right now.
Say that again.
Fighting Charlotte.
Yes. I know we go ahead and give you those points, which is over here. Can anybody follow up on that, Fiona?
Yeah, they were running from Charlie.
Yes.
Saw them coming.
That's right.
They got scared.
That's the part I was looking for. They were being chased by Charlemagne's army and out in revenge for what they did to the rear guard. We're back over here. We'll go to Zoe. Who is Marcel?
He is in Saragossa, and he is a part of like the ambush on Roland, in Lava Mountain. He like died of grief, and
I like your answers. You've given me a lot of good answers. They're all right. I would ask you, what's his other name?
Marcillian.
Right, it's the same person. So we'll go back over here to Fiona. Who is the emir?
He is the guy who came to like help the Saracens fight Charlemagne.
Yes, could you tell me his like his importance or his role? The emir is a title. What does that mean? Why is that
He's like-
significant?
He's like a Muslim commander or something.
Yeah. Right, he's like number one. Now, that's not true, that there are lots of emirs. There's not just one. In Islam, there would be many emirs. But in the book, there's just one. Matthew, you got a question?
Yeah, wasn't he also like called the Great Emir?
The great emir he may have been.
I think
Yeah, I did not remember that. So, let's see, we're back over here. Do you want to try any of this, Abby, yet?
sure.
Well, you don't have to, because you don't know most of it, because you weren't here. So, you want to try? Okay, I won't put you in that, I just thought I'd ask. All right, we'll go to you.
All right.
Freddie, let me ask it first. Define what mirroring is and give me an example from the story.
Alright, mirroring is when, passages or scenes reflect other passages or scenes in a story. An example is like, Marcillian meets with his counselors, like, army under a yoke tree, and then Marcillian does the same thing
Yeah,
in a later.
yeah, that works. I like the way you added the scenes part, because that seems to me that illustrates it better. It's a scene that's and at the beginning scenes are two mirrored scenes, with Marcel in one location and Charlemagne. All right, so,
Wait, what was the example again?
what's that? Beginning of the book, Marcillian is sitting under a tree in front of Saragossa, being counsel and talking about how they're going to get out of this predicament they're in. Then you see a scene just like it a few pages later with Charlemagne under a tree with his council in front of a city. So we're back over here to Abby, right? Tell me about Raposha. Now, it's different from mirroring. Tell me how it's different, and can you think of an example, even if you can't quote it? Can you describe an example from the book?
Where it's like a kind of repeated like phrase but with a different style.
Yes.
And when like Hamlin says Charlemagne is 200 years old like 3 different times.
Good. Yeah. Good. That's a good example. And there are other ones like grim is the battle and fierce is the foe, and it says that 3 different times. And the effect is, when you're reading it for the first time, you wonder, why am I reading this again? And we just read it, you know, and we didn't understand that technique was purposely used. So good job. We're back over here. All right, so we'll go to Natalie. Tell me what the right-hand glove represents in the story.
It's a symbol of trust, respect, and honor to someone.
Good. All right, I'm not asking for examples yet, so you get that. She said a symbol of trust, authority, and honor, and you say
Respect, honor.
respect and honor, yeah. So we'll go over here, right? Bronwyn, give me 2 examples of the right glove in the story.
At the end, when King Theory gives his glove to Charlemagne, and at the beginning, when I think Charlemagne gives the glove to Ganelon when he was going to Marsilia, and then Ganelon drops it.
Very good. I mean, that was like the worst faux pas. I can imagine somebody at their wedding, you know, the bride falling down. Think of like the most embarrassing situation you can at the worst moment, you know, like falling down would be bad enough, but at your wedding, that wouldn't be. That's kind of what the dropped glove, something like that. Very embarrassing and important. So we're back over here, right? Brian, give me 2 examples of the presence of the supernatural in the story.
Charlemagne's dream about the foreshadowing for Ganelon's trial, and when the sun just stops in the sky.
Very good. What was that first one? Did you say to dream?
Mhm.
Okay, good. That would definitely be, because they're sent by angels, and I like the example from Joshua too.
Another one that says sword.
Yes.
When,
Whose sword?
Charlemagne.
Right. Why is it so special?
Because
It's
it
like
changes
unbreakable,
colors.
Right.
and it changes colors.
I don't think I've even asked you most of those kinds of questions here, but you should remember them. So we're back over here. So we're you, Matthew.
Saragossa is, it's like a city, in the book, it's like one of the main cities, it's what the Franks are fighting against, I think.
It's what?
It's what the Franks are going against, like. the
Right.
people of
Whose
Saragossa.
city is it? Is it a Saracen or Christian?
It's Saracen.
Okay. You could make the case too that the book begins and ends almost at Saragossa. It doesn't literally end at Saragossa because it ends in Aix, but the most important part of the book is starts at Saragossa and ends when they take Saragossa. Yeah.
Well, isn't it the last city to take about?
Yeah. All right, so we're back over here to Dave. Dave, tell me about the Pyrenees and what are they and why are they significant in the story?
The Pyrenees were a mountain range in Spain. I think they divided the empire of Charlemagne and the region of the Saracens. Its significance is that it contained Roncesvalles, and of course Roncesvalles was a significant battle, and Charlemagne had to pass through the mountains in order to return to Spain after receiving the promise from Saragossa.
Yeah, almost the entire book takes place in and around the Pyrenees. There are scenes prior to that and at the end, but good answer. We're back over here, I believe, right? Okay. Kimber, tell me about the name Precious. It applies to two things. What does it, what is it?
Dave's on there too.
Yeah, Dave's on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. So we're you, right, Tim?
Ooh.
Okay.
Someone's
Right.
watching.
Tell me about Precious. And don't look.
Okay, this is the, like, it's not.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's like one of the swords, isn't it? Charlemagne's sword?
Oh,
Can I ask a friend?
ask Matthew Reed, he'll know.
Just don't ask anybody on the other
That
team.
means
Is
nothing.
anyone on this? Fiona, you're pretty smart. That's what I was gonna say, it just slipped out of shoulder. But yeah, Amir's.
I didn't hear her, so you need to
I
repeat
mean,
it.
Amir's sword.
I said two things, that's one. What's the other thing? got that. Well, we've gotten all the points you can get. Anybody know what it is?
Warcraft.
War cry, the Panem war cry. All right, so now we're back over to Kimber, right? All right, Kimber, what object goes by the name joyous in the poem?
We lost. Matthew made
Charlemagne's sword.
Do you need help?
I just nodded my head. 'cause I-
Yeah, I mean, like, I knew.
No,
like,
she made
She
sure.
and
said
I-
it, she asked for confirmation, and I said, yeah.
That's 2 points.
So, I mean,
She
whatever.
was right, right?
Uh-huh.
All right.
You got this, Daniel.
I don't think I've asked you this. What's Charlemagne's war cry?
Oh, that's the,
Mount Joy, right.
I
Which
think that's the word.
has the word, which has the word joyous in it, right?
I thought Mount Joy was the war cry for the entire Prince Charles.
It is, it is.
But they get it from the swords.
Yeah, I think it comes from the sword, but you're right.
Name on.
Okay, we're back over here, right? We're back over here.
You can do the name.
Matthew, who is Naaman and what is his significance?
Don't look at your thing.
Hey,
I don't have anything written down, but,
Ah.
Naaman, like, he's the person that advises Charlemagne to cut the war short, and his significance is he figures out, he figures out Ganelon is a traitor.
those are two good answers. That's about all we can say about Naaman. You said about all there is to say. We're back over here to Zoe. Tell me about Pinabel, his role in the story. Yes, okay, the answer was, and I'm gonna repeat it for this, Pinabel he took Ganelon's place and supported him at the trial by combat. He lost that, he was defeated, but he was the one who fought for Ganelon. So we're back over here again to, Pig. All right, so when did they, give me a date, a year, when the Battle of Roncevaux took place?
65. 60.
I'm asking Hayden right here. The 3 dates you need to remember, they're all on the review here, but you can get some help from your team. That is correct. Can I ask, is it AD or BC?
AD.
Wait, what is it? 770?
778. Yeah.
This side is red.
No, this side is.
What did I do?
You put one on the other
You
side.
put, yeah,
So I need to put them over here.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so I need to take them off here, right?
Yeah.
No, Hayden got help, so it's only 1 point.
Maybe I need some help up here. I'm not doing
I'll help you.
That's all right. That's all right.
Maybe we should get a.
And I need to take it off here, right?
Yeah.
So it should be 3. Is that right?
Cool. No, we have 4.
Yeah, we're clapping.
So it's even, Steven.
No, wait, that's not right, 'cause we were.
That is right. No,
I think it's close. What?
Freddie, stop
They
trying to
needed
cheat.
2
Freddie,
times,
no,
they needed
stop trying to
better.
cheat. Freddie trying to cheat. Freddie wants
Okay, so they have
Freddie, no,
points.
Freddie, no.
Hayden had
Freddie,
one
go
point
away.
for this one, so.
All right, let's go back
That's right here. It's me.
over here.
It's me.
Zoe,
Zoe's one.
It's not Freddie.
Whose turn is it?
Nine.
Freddie.
Oh, wait.
Freddie, there's another answer.
Freddie, what century did the legend, I don't have a precise year, what century did the legend of Roland develop?
Of Roland? Was it, the, like, 11th century? Oh, wait, no, I'm trying.
That's
No,
like today.
It was it the 9th century, like 900s?
Well, that would be the 10th century.
10th century?
The 900s is correct,
Okay.
That's not wrong.
but it's the 10th century.
Alright.
Oh wait, Fiona? Fiona, how old is the character Charlemagne in the story? Alright, she's correct. We're back over here to Natalie.
Yes.
How old was the real Charlemagne at the Battle of Roncevaux?
38.
Back over here to Abby. Define hyperbole and give one example from the poem.
It's an exaggerated, like, overstatement.
Yes, it is. And an example from the poem.
Is it when they say, like, Charlemagne's 200 and, like, seen more years?
One more time?
Like, when someone says, like, Charlemagne's 200 years old, but he's seen more.
Okay, the answer, just again for this, parataxis, hyperbole, exaggeration, and his age is exaggerated, 200 years old. And alright, so let's go to parataxis, we're back to Ryan.
Parataxis is.
Oh, and an example.
Just like a bunch of phrases without any conjunctions, and an example will.
Without any what? Conjunction, I got you.
Conjunctions. And the examples are in like battles and catalogs to put like emphasis on that.
Can you be a little more specific,
Oh, you can ask me.
like an exact,
Okay, so to quote it exactly.
it would be helpful, or
Yeah.
at least paraphrase it, something close to it.
It's where it's like describing what all the guys are holding in the columns, and it has like the shields, and like it describes their armor and the things that they're holding, just like all in one big.
If you just have individual words separated by commas,
It wasn't individual words, it was phrases.
well, that would be,
Yeah.
if you could give me did I give you any points yet? I'm not paying any attention to what I'm doing.
You gave, them a point that you meant to put on.
We should have, yeah.
Okay, I think.
Yeah,
we-
tell 'em.
Do you want me to do it, please? Yeah,
Let's
just
do
do
it.
that, yeah, just do that.
Or it's supposed to be like.
I can give this specific
So
example.
they're supposed to be up by 2.
Ryan, you can call on me.
They're only-
Alright, the question is, what is an example, you got a specific one?
Oh, yeah, fierce is like, okay, what is it? Fierce is the contest, and hard are the strokes they strike.
Okay, yeah, that would work, that's not a precise quote, but that's where you have a phrase or sentence with no conjunction. It's a little different if you have individual adjectives before a noun or a list, but anyway, okay, we're good. So we're back to here, which means we're at Bronwyn. Define parataxis and give one example from the, what?
Wait, what was the answer to it then?
Oh, I'm sorry, in stop.
Or what was the answer to parataxis?
Oh, and stuff.
You wanna give it again?
Oh, the definition of the.
Well, you gave the definition.
So you-
Ryan, definition?
Phrases without conjunctions.
Or the use
Like
of
put
the
together.
clause.
Or could be clauses, which means like subject has a subject and verb, and the example, Freddie gave you one. Alright, now we're going to the in stop question, which is Bronwyn.
Is that where, like, the line ends, but the sentence is still going, so it goes on to the next line?
Oh,
You got it just backwards. Maybe you should explain it again,
Like, if the sentence is still going, but then the line like stops and then the sentence keeps going on to the next line?
really, it's both ends. Like, it's the sentence ends and the line ends. If it were, actually this word, excuse me, this word right here describes, you don't need to know that. Most poetry, modern poetry, the sentence continues maybe to the next line, or maybe 2 lines, and it stops in the middle of a line. That's not what this is. Every line in this poem, at the end of every line, it's the end of I call it a sentence, because you understand what that means.
the sentence.
It ends at every line, so it's like a series of sentences, all in one essay, and each sentence is on one line. Is that what you were trying to say, or?
Kind of.
Alright. Anyway, you understand that? It's at the end, when you come to the end line, there's gonna be a comma, there's gonna be a semicolon, there's gonna be a period, and then you go to some other idea, then you go to another idea. That's not the way all poetry is. Most poetry isn't like that, but this poem is. That's end style. I know there's probably have some students who still don't know that in another class, like DP, they struggle with that idea. Yeah.
Did you say the, sense of the line is completed at the end of the line?
Well, that's exactly the definition, but when it says the sense, maybe you understand better, like the sentence, is sort of the idea. So, did you get that? Good, because I'm not paying any attention, as you know, that's why you're there. So, we're back over here to Dave.
Yep.
Define slant rhyme and give an example.
Slant rhyme occurs when the vowel and or consonant sound of stressed syllables are identical.
Yes.
An example of which is the rhyming of eyes and light.
Yes.
Or the rhyming of view and rude.
That's 2 points, good. And that's not what we think of as normal rhyme. That's why we don't call it that, we call it something else, we don't
We
slant.
call half rhyme or.
Yeah, has a lot of different names, good. So you're over there, now we're back over here, and we're at where? Matthew, all right, Matthew, define trial by combat, and where does it appear in the poem?
Trial by combat is like, instead of going, I guess it's like, if you do something wrong, it's gonna like happen to you in combat, like your punishment or whatever, maybe? Or is that where like two people fight because something happened, so they fight to, I guess,
What?
work it out or something? Or like to decide, yeah.
Look at the word trial. They take that literally.
They-
It usually takes place within the context of a trial, so you determine who's guilty or innocent by two guys fighting. It could work, as in the case of Goliath and David, you know, that was kind of a trial by combat. The deal was, if Goliath wins, that means the whole army wins. If David wins, so I will give him that credit. Just make sure you understand that. We're back over here. Kimber. How are Turpin, Roland, and Oliver buried?
They take out their hearts and put them in jars,
Yeah.
and then they bury the body.
That's very good. In what country? Like, where are they? There's only two choices, Spain or France. They are buried in France. Unlike the rest of the army, the rest of the rear guard's buried.
In one big grave.
Yeah.
Weren't they buried in like one grave, all of them?
Yeah, the ones other than these three, yeah.
Oh.
Not these three, everybody else. All right, so we're back over here to
T-Bone.
you. Is that you?
Yeah, I think so.
That's a new one for me. Now I know your name. All right, Basile and Besant.
Weren't there like two envoys of Charlemagne that were murdered by Marsilian?
Exactly. Yeah, good job.
Thanks.
We're back over there to Zoe. Who is Ood? A-U-D-E.
Let's go.
Did you hear that? She's right. What happened to her?
Yes.
Very good.
Who is Ood? She gets
That's
run
Ood.
over?
She dies of a
Roland's
broken
fiancé,
heart.
and I agree, because of Roland's death.
All right, we'll go back to Matthew. Who is Bramamond? What new name is given to her?
From King Marcel's wife.
Yeah.
Her name is Juliana.
Very good.
Wait, what was, number 26?
Those are the two hostages that were, or there were two envoys that were
Who were they,
made.
who were they put about?
They were killed by Marsilian. It was Charlemagne's, actually Roland's ambassador. All right, so we're back over here. Explain how the poem misrepresents Islam. Give two ways that the poem distorts what Muslims believe.
Oh,
There's ways or three ways. in this.
I know, I'm just asking for two.
Do it.
Oh, God. They represent them in the book as polytheistic, but they're actually monotheistic.
Good.
And then they represent them as like sneaky and like cowardly.
All right, that's two. Can you think of a third thing, maybe? He got the point. There is no emir, there's no, I mean, there are emirs, but there's no one Lord of Islam. That's another distortion, in the book. All right, so, we're back over here. Hayden. All right, Hayden, explain the difference in reality versus the poem, why Charlemagne invaded Spain.
In reality, he was really invited there by the Saracens.
He was what?
He was invited there by the Saracens.
That's right. About, what does it show in the book? What's the reason?
Oh, like he went to go like help people out, like in the fight.
Well, now that's the reality. He was invited to help them out, so what's the reason in the book?
He hears Roland's heart.
What?
He hears Roland. He like puts everything else in it.
Remember, he'd been there 7 years fighting before Roland was in trouble, so what's the reason he was there fighting? We'll just give 1 point right now. Yeah. Anybody over here? All right, you go ahead.
Wait,
Yeah.
what was the question?
Why, he got half of it right. They go into Spain because they were invited. That's the truth. But that's not the reason they're there in the book.
Yeah, they wanted revenge for the two enemies.
They're already there before
Oh,
that
yeah.
happens. Yeah.
They represent it as like an invasion of a crusade against the
It is. It's like a crusade. It's what is the reason, off the record, but I could ask it tomorrow. What's the reason why the poem was probably written?
Propaganda.
Propaganda for the actual crusades that were beginning to start in Europe or in the Middle
What was
East.
that question?
It says, why is the book written? We think it was a propaganda story to get people to hate Muslims so they'll join the real crusade. So they make this into a crusade. It wasn't, but the book poem represents it that way. So we're back over here, right, Natalie? Natalie, what is a double entendre? If you can think of an example, that'd be great.
I don't know an example, but I know that it's mixed Russian, like written and used two different ways.
Right. The example was, and I'm paraphrasing, when Ganelon says, yeah, that should settle the account. He's talking about the account. And he was talking about the account, the fact Marsilian owed him for trying to kill him, but he also thinks Roland owes him for trying to kill him. So he was saying two things with one statement. Where are we now? Back to Fiona? What's a jongleur?
It's like a entertainer or like a person like who tells jokes or sings or something.
How does it relate to this story?
Like, he like sing the song of Roland?
Yes, yeah. Those are the guys that actually recited and told the story. How about back over here? I'm gonna stop it early so we can ask any further questions. Ryan, 3 or 2 epic characteristics found in Songaro.
Supernatural stuff happening, and an elevated writing style, because there's all that literary terms and the hyperbole and
You make,
double
you
entendre.
make that sound like a bad thing, but no, I got what you mean.
Yeah, sorry.
All right, those are all true. Those are true, so good. There are others you could go to, vast setting, epic, hero, you mentioned supernatural, but you could just, the fact he kills 4,000 people, that's not really supernatural, it's superhuman. We're back over here to,
Oh my God, not me.
who are we? Okay. Abby, describe and interpret one of Charlemagne's dreams. He had 4. I'm asking for one. Yeah, one of the 4.
Well, I know, like, it said like that Roland was, didn't it mean that like Roland was told that he was gonna die?
Can you describe the dream that had that in it?
I know there were a lot of like animals.
Yeah. So that's just something to look at, because I'll probably ask you, won't ask you all 4 of them, but you probably need to look at, we can give her a point. Anybody want to?
Oh.
Yeah.
So like his first dream, whatever, it was all about like foreshadowing of the trial of Ganelon.
The first dream. Is that what you said?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
That's not the first dream.
Oh.
That was the last dream.
Well, and then also
what happened in the dream?
Wasn't it like a bear, there's the one with the, like the bear and
All right, so there's a greyhound, there's a leopard that represented,
all the other, like Charlemagne, Marsilian, like
yeah,
Hannibal.
well, that represented the battle with Marsilian. Then you had the dream that Ganelon breaks the spear at the Sizer Pass. That represented the betrayal of Ganelon. Then you had the two dreams, one about the battle with Balagat, which had all the Middle Earth type creatures, involved, all these creatures, dragons and worms and wervins, and then you had the trial of Ganelon, where it had the bear and the 30 bears and so forth. So let me just ask a couple more of these. What are we doing? Can you add that up? They're tied, right? No.
About by 4.
35,
34. So we're definitely in the fourth quarter here. The game is just about over. We're over here, I believe. Dave.
Yeah.
What century? But we don't know a precise date. What century was the poem written in?
The late 1000s.
That's correct. So they get 2 for that.
High school.
Back over here. Where are we? Bronwyn? Okay, Bronwyn. Thierry. Tell me about Thierry.
He's the one who fights Hannibal after Ganelon and wins.
Very good. And we just have 2 left, which is appropriate because you guys will get the last one, although I don't know if you can make up. I don't have a 4-point question. So we back over at Kimber. Dave, did you do one?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so tell me about Aix.
It's also Aiken, and that is where Charlemagne's palace is.
capital of France.
That's right. Charlemagne's palace is there. That's good enough. And then finally over here,
That's me. I say we should make it like 40 points.
what is Sizer Gate?
Isn't that like the gate to like the mountain pass?
Yeah. So it ended just the way I think it probably, I don't think it made up any points.
We got like 107. You're wrong.
Okay, thank you.
We got 39.
Next time you can play. When we do this.
Mr. Powell,
Yeah.
what's, for like the terms, whatever, what's verse?
Yeah, let's go over that. You think you can sit down. Thank you.
I know what the verse is, it's like a 10-syllable line.
Yeah, why don't you get this out
This is over.
and see if they'll ask questions. Now, the question was about verse. Verse is inferior poetry. It's it's children's poetry. And that sounds pejorative. You know what that means? It sounds like it's an insult. It's a negative statement, and I guess it is. But we just don't call Dr. Seuss by the same word we would John Milton. John Milton, that's poetry, Shakespeare's poetry. So Dr. Seuss, we have to come up with a name for that, which is, we call it verse. So it's children's poetry, it's inferior poetry. You could write for adults and write bad poetry, that would be more verse. Yeah.
You say it's like simpler language?
It's all the things you think of Dr. Seuss. Yeah.
I think Dr. Seuss is an intellectual.
So anything else? We just have 5 minutes. If you have any last questions, yeah.
If you ask us about, like medieval justice, would we answer by saying like, well, an example was when Ganelon was like tortured, they were tortured, something like that?
Right. Yeah.
I'm still a little confuzzled about the burial. Like,
Did you say befuzzled?
I said confuzzled.
Confuzzled. I like that even better. You made that up, but I like it. So, tell me about it.
Well, that's Charlemagne was.
The burial of Roland and Turpin and all of them.
Yeah, they were buried, their hearts buried separated from their bodies, but everybody else, the 20,000 other than those 3 are buried in a mass grave in Kosovo. Right?
The bodies were burned, right?
I'm sorry.
Their bodies were burned.
Were they?
Yeah.
I
It
didn't
said,
know that.
it said they were put on a pile and lit.
Weren't Oliver, Turpin and Roland Buried in a church before.
Yeah.
I don't even wanna go.
All right, guys, hang on. I'm finished. I'm not gonna try to, we got 3 or 4 minutes, but if you have a question, ask me tomorrow afternoon, be ready.